It was weird. I think
Yeah.
in my head, I kind of already assumed, well, we've got this. In my head, at that age, I'd suddenly gone like, yeah, we've got this. And then I remember it wasn't long after the Truman Show movie had come out, and I had this weird like, maybe this is just like a whole thing, you know. And it was like everything's rolling too perfectly. And then yeah, I just always assumed that we were going to be Fred and George in the film. It was a bizarre confidence that I've never had before.
James,
But
did
it
you
would
feel
be
that?
Kind of, but to be honest, I had nothing to compare it with. It's one of those where it felt right. You can imagine. I mean, I guess it just came a natural thing where you imagine yourself in the role when you're doing the audition. That's good for the audition, but yeah, with like you're saying, with every other audition, because there was like 5 or 6 of them in total, it gets more real, and and you know that you must be doing something right actually further down the line. And I've never been more nervous in all my life than when we were in that screen test, because it's touching distance at that point. I mean, you've been there many times, so you know that it's reachable.
That's what scares you
So
when you're thinking about it. Like, oh my God, this is real. This is real. How do I stay? I mean, and you're 14. You don't know how to keep it together. You don't know how to act cool. You don't. And I think that's probably the charm that maybe you guys had.
So, yeah.
You know,
I think so. I mean, the one thing I did remember from the screen test is because obviously our hair isn't the Weasley ginger that we ended up having when filming, and they were trying a temporary hair dye, and I remember they put it on. And I thought this looks just like I've got slightly lighter brown hair. But this isn't going to work. Maybe we don't look as they thought. And then but you kind of like push that to the back of your head, I suppose, when doing it. But it was just I remember when we got the role. I can't even remember if they must have mentioned it, but I can't even remember them mentioning that they were going to dye our hair. I just remember it was like an unsaid thing of, all right, yeah, we'll do it.
wow.
Right,
no,
cool.
I remember them saying. I remember I think it was Chris Columbus saying to us, "Are you guys are okay with your hair being dyed, right?" I was like, "You can shave my head for all I care."
You know what that's like, though.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Exactly.
My God. I mean, did you read the books, or obviously you read the books after for sure, or the book? I don't know how many books were out there. I'm not a big reader, but did you ever, were you like, wait a minute, we're in the books. You guys are there throughout the books, right? So
yeah,
like,
so the first audition happened, and the 4th book had just come out, and it was the first like publicized midnight launch of a book in however long, because obviously the books I always say they got a new generation reading around the world, which is so that's why the film was going to be a big thing. And we'd read the first book, so we knew the characters from the first book, but then I started reading the second and the third book over that summer, and the third book, so I was reading The Prisoner of Azkaban, which I think is my favorite book out of the series. And the smell that a book has, right? That smell, no matter what book I'm reading now, reminds me of reading The Prisoner of Azkaban in the summer of 2000 when we were casting the roles. It's just little things like that, yeah.
Wow.